Hello and welcome to What It Is, the show of conversations on music news, history, and culture, brought to you by Independent Arts and Music of Asheville, recorded live at Echo Mountain Recording Studios here in Asheville, North Carolina. I'm Joe Kendrick, glad to be your host of the show, and I'm hosting the show today. We're joined by Jay Sanders of Acoustic Syndicate, Caitlin Krisko of the broadcast. We've got Jason Sandford of Ash Vegas, and Molly Kummerle of Paper Tiger and the Molly Party. Today we're ruminating on what records we would bring to that desert island. You know, the story of what would you bring if you were stranded on a desert island and you only had so many records to take with you. And maybe that is really not as perfect of an analogy as, say, trying to pare down your record selection and you just want to make room now, so you're getting rid of things like so many people are today. We're assuming that you can actually either prepare to be shipwrecked on this desert island and take the records or CDs or iPod and make it there in one piece, or you're just getting down to a manageable list of more perfect records, and what would they be?
Well, so I hear a big crashing sound. The Costa Concordia just hit the reef on the coast of Italy. I happen to have a big wooden box with my favorite records in it and a hand-cranked record player. I dive into the water, make it way to the desert island, and the first thing I do when I get out of the water is pull out Peter Gabriel's Passion. It's one of my favorite records of all times. It's the soundtrack from the movie The Last Temptation of Christ, and it never gets old. Some of the tones on it are a little dated because it was recorded in the 80s, and you just can't take records out of the 80s without hearing the 80s, but it's still an amazing recording. I would have Bill Frisell's Blues Dream. Bill Frisell is one of my favorite musicians of all time. The American Analog Set album, Promise of Love, would be in my box. Of course, Let It Be by the Beatles. You got to have at least one Beatles record. Explosions in the Sky have a record called The Earth Is Not a Cold Dead Place, and that would be in my little record box. I'm a big classical music fan, specifically Stravinsky. So I have a record, the best of Stravinsky specifically. It's excellent recordings. The New York Philharmonic doing the Firebird Suite, The Rite of Spring, and then excerpts from A Soldier's Tale, which is actually my favorite Stravinsky composition. He wrote it during, I think it was World War II, when the World War I or II, I can't remember the exact. Anyway, it was written for 8 pieces in a time period where he couldn't use a full symphony orchestra, and it's just really amazing what he does with it. Classic jazz, Love Supreme, John Coltrane, Kind of Blue, Miles Davis, just because you want that mood sometimes. You know, you're hanging on a desert island, you want a little romantic music. Throw on Kind of Blue.
For yourself.
Yeah, like, who are you making love with on this desert island?
He's rescued halfway into the desert island.
There we go, yeah. I mean, we are off the coast of Italy in my little thing I've got going here. If I want to remember my beautiful mountain home here in Asheville, I'll have Doc Watson's Smithsonian Folkways recordings. The Vandermark 5, The Horse Jumps and the Ship is Gone, just in case, and I get myself into a little castaway moment with a abscessed tooth and a ice skate. You need a little bit of music to help that moment along, you know. One of my favorite recordings is Daryl Scott's Live in North Carolina, which was recorded at Ziggy's, actually by my really good friend Chris Mitchell. It's a fantastic record, and sometimes you just want to hear Daryl sing, and he's so good. And finally, for those moments when you do really realize that you're sitting on a desert island all by yourself, you'll need the Best of Chess Records Blues box set, especially if it's on vinyl. If it's not on vinyl, it needs to be like a cassette tape version of the vinyl, because the pops and cracks and skips have to be in there.
I hope you have a flotation device for all
geez,
this
for this
stuff,
record
because like
box.
you're
Well, they
sinking.
float.
They
See, my
float.
record box floats. You just inhale
See,
it.
yeah.
You know.
really works out
It's
well.
like go gadget record floater.
That's it. Perfect.
Awesome. I'm getting stranded with you.
I unfortunately myself will be stranded in the Arctic. My list, I guess, will be a little bit shorter than that. But for me, I would obviously with the Beatles, I would rock Abbey Road. I would definitely have Erykah Badu's Mama's Gun. A lot of the records I would choose would probably be albums that I love to sing along to. Stevie Wonder, Inner Visions, I love that record. I think that the imagery that he paints, especially as a man who can't see, is profound and astounding. The Robert Glasper Experiment, Black Radio, I think is an incredible record that I would love to have on my island. I would also, if I had to go with something from Asheville to remind me of home, I would endlessly play Moses Atwood's album One Bright Boat, which if you guys haven't had the chance to listen to is just so wonderful. And so I can't even believe I know that person and that he made that record. It's like one of those things. I love that album. I would also, if I had to, man, you like shot the classical thing and made me feel like I had to be all like smart in this moment. So I guess I would probably rock either Vivaldi Four Seasons, or I would rock the Nutcracker, because growing up I was in the Nutcracker every year, and I know
like
all
the vision of rocking the Four Seasons. And
yeah,
rocking the
yeah. Clearly my vernacular is shining through right now. I think that I would choose the Nutcracker probably because I grew up dancing and I was in the show every year, so I literally know all of the choreography from start to finish. So I feel like it'd be fun to be able to have that and dance around on the island. You know, probably in some leaves, some fig leaves, covering my necessities.
Some shells and
and finally, for those sleepy evenings when you need to be lulled to bed, I would choose Nick Drake's Pink Moon or Sade's Lover's Rock.
That's a good list.
That's a good list.
Thanks.
So I'm going to sort of cop out on this. Joe, I hate these kind of questions because I can feel like I can never answer, and my answer like would change from minute to minute or hour to hour or whatever. So sort of like Jay, I imagine I'm on Jam Cruise 25, and it's the special edition where everyone brings their vinyl collections, and it hits the reef, crashes, and Jay's hand-cranked record player washes up along with 3,000 people's record collections, just all on my little island, and I get to pick whatever.
But let's just say, okay, you're so broke, you have to sell everything in your collection except for you're going to keep 10 or 12 or 15 or something.
Man, that's so hard.
Or your house is on fire, you have to grab 10.
Yeah, I would just let it go. I would just let it go.
So basically what he's saying is when Jam Cruise is sinking down into the depths of the ocean, you have Jason to thank for it.
No, that's never
And
gonna
it's
happen.
all
They'll be
for
fine.
your record collection, ladies and gentlemen.
Because he's just going to dive in and swim to shore, and then the records are going to come after
right.
that. He's going to get to pick.
You're going to miss your music on the desert island, dude.
He's like the Pied Piper lulling all the vinyl records to shore.
There's just so much out there. I can't pick, man.
It's just like the reality show Naked and Afraid, except it's like naked and silent.
Naked and refusing to participate.
Oh gosh, that's a whole other show. Sorry.
What about you, Molly?
Man, I was all prepared for this, and then old scholarly Sanders made me feel really bad. And now, in typical Molly fashion, Molly Party fashion, I'm not going to go so much for records because A, I can never remember album names or song names, and B, I'm really like a more playlist kind of girl. Like, there are several records that I will listen to all the way through, but I would just want my music to keep me, as a companion. So I would bring my iPod wrapped up in a Ziploc baggie with a solar charger and some little speakers, and I would have definitely Radiohead, Bonobo.
I thought about that. Which Radiohead record if you had to pick one?
I would have to take them all. That's why I got the iPod, dude. Like, I cannot. It's so because
so American in this answer.
I know, and I'm sorry.
I'm not getting rid of any of it. I'm taking it all.
Taking it all. But I have taken a lot of music off of my iPod, just so you know, because I had to make room. Imogen Heap, Tribe Called Quest. I need some old hip hop on there. The Beastie Boys. Gotta have some jazz. I love piano jazz. Nina Simone, Ella Fitzgerald. I would need some Portishead, definitely. And then I need some.
Making music.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like rock out some Led Zeppelin, and then I would need like my dance party funk, Michael Jackson. I would need some Stevie Wonder and Al Green. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I'm bad with album names, but I'm kind of more like just set the mood. I gotta have the right songs for it, Mm-hmm.
So she's like the extended version.
I'm the extended
She's like
version.
the opposite version of Jason.
Yeah.
Right, it's good that you're sitting next to each
He's
other.
not bringing anything, and I'm bringing everything. And I can't carry all the CDs, so I'm
And
just
you happen
gonna.
to wash up on the same island.
Yes. So he didn't need to bring anything.
Yes, that's awesome.
Well, there's an appeal to the desert island sort of fantasy in that you're getting rid of all of the weight of culture and work and everything, and you're just focusing it and distilling it and boiling it all down to some essentials that reflect your inner essence. And so, of course, this would never happen that you would actually be able to be on the you'd be banging on coconuts and stuff and trying to remember the songs, probably is what would happen. Hoping that somebody would rescue you. But so say the scenario plays out like we've envisioned it, and I would take records like Van Morrison's Into the Mystic, which is, I think, is an absolute perfect record. Some favorites of mine from years ago, the first Fugazi, it was their first 2 EPs called 13 Songs, so I could get my jam going, and when I was angry and stuff, I could do that. Poetry, there's a great box set of American poetry called In Their Own Voices, and it's 100 years of poetry from everybody from Walt Whitman up to the last, decade or so, in their reading their own poetry, really cool. Which is a great box set. Get my hip hop with some old school like you. I do It Takes a Nation to Millions from Public Enemy. Yeah. I would also do some Coltrane, some Love Supreme. Can't go wrong with that. Also the North Carolina Tie with Coltrane. Some blues, definitely. One of my all-time favorite blues records is Magic Sam's West Side Soul, which is just an astounding record. I can't get enough of that. Nico Case, even though she has a new record out, I don't know if she'll ever top Fox Confessor Brings the Flood. And her new record's good, but I don't know if it's really going to top Fox Confessor. Big Star, the number one, and Radio City, those are 2 records combined into 1 disc, which is what I have. So if I could take one or the other, I guess if I had to, I'd take number 1 record, but if I had both, I could take that CD. The Beatles, of course, we're going to do the White Album, since it kind of has a little bit of everything of the Beatles, and it's more. It's bigger. I guess I'm a little bit like you.
You're
in this.
like me.
Yeah. I'll get my krautrock with Can's Tago Mago, because I'm a big Can fan, especially in krautrock and things. Portishead too. Who mentioned Portishead?
Me.
I would take the first record. Also Brian Eno for ambient music for the times, and also that classical bent, because it has Pachelbel's canon tagged onto it, and discrete music, which is, I think, a record that he made with intention of helping women give birth. I think was part of the concept, that it was soothing and relaxing, and basically it's a lot of random tape loops, I think, that he set in motion, and they overlap and keep coming back and forth. And it's great for making dinner or just kind of chilling out. And then Stereolab for Mars Audiac Quintet for my Moog fix. And that'd be about it.
So wait, no one's bringing any Justin Bieber or One Direction onto their island?
That's on the B-sides of my
No
iPod.
reggae? I thought somebody would pick a little island reggae.
Molly's like, no, I'm actually bringing Justin Bieber with me to the
Justin
island.
He's going to be my houseboy.
He could cut down that tree in your yard.
Yeah.
I thought about the whole reggae
I think
thing.
I'm probably
Is it?
I didn't
stronger
really
than he
settle
is.
on the one, and then I thought about Willie Nelson. So then I thought about Willie Nelson's Countryman, because it would satisfy both. And then I went a totally different direction.
See, that's my point.
Yeah.
I never pick.
I know.
Exactly.
It's hard.
All right, what do you think? What would you take to your desert island, or what would you run out of your house with if everything was on fire? Let us know here at imavl.com. Drop us a comment, and we'll look forward to weighing in on what you've got to say and reacting and interacting with you there, or on Twitter at imavl. We'll look forward to seeing you again here at Independent Arts and Music of Asheville online on our show next week. Until next time, for What It Is, I'm Joe Kendrick.